Welcome back to my channel, Hidden Points. Today we're diving deep into the psychology of the peacemaker, that person who lives to smooth over conflicts, calm tensions, and prevent arguments. Because behind every peaceful smile, there is often a mind racing with fear, a deep sense of responsibility, and quiet self-sacrifice. Imagine a young boy named Ethan, who grew up watching his parents fight endlessly. He quickly realized that the only way to survive was to step in, mediate, and redirect the anger to keep the house from exploding. He became incredibly skilled at reading moods, predicting reactions, and speaking in a way that softened his parents' anger. He wasn't just being nice, he was managing a crisis, day in and day out. Then picture a teenage girl named Olivia. She always put her friends' needs above her own. She'd find herself apologizing for things she didn't even do, just to make others feel safe and accepted. She became emotionally exhausted, but the pattern felt unavoidable. For Olivia, peacekeeping was deeply tied to her sense of love and belonging. If she didn't keep the peace, she feared she'd be rejected. And finally, think of someone like Lucas, a college student who avoids confrontation at all costs, at work, with his family, and in his friendships. He constantly compromises his own desires to prevent discomfort for others. He feels an intense responsibility for the emotions of everyone around him, as if their happiness is entirely on his shoulders. Ethan, Olivia, and Lucas aren't just fictional characters. They represent a very real psychological profile. So, what's happening inside the mind of a peacemaker? Psychologists explain that peacemakers often develop a deep sense of empathy and a heightened emotional sensitivity. This isn't just a personality trait. It's a finely tuned skill that allows them to anticipate others' reactions and adapt accordingly. They become social chameleons, changing their behavior to fit the emotional climate of the room. Research in neuroscience gives us even more insight. Studies show that the brains of many peacemakers have stronger connections in the areas responsible for emotional regulation and social cognition. This means they are literally wired to detect conflict early and respond in ways that minimize it. Their brain is always scanning for threats, not physical threats, but emotional ones. Developmental psychologists add another layer to this. They note that many peacemakers grew up in environments where conflict was dangerous, unpredictable, or emotionally overwhelming. Like Ethan, they learned that their survival depended on managing other people's feelings, often at the expense of their own. They didn't have the luxury of expressing their own anger, sadness, or fear, because they were too busy managing everyone else's. The core of this psychology is a concept called hyperresponsibility. This is the driving force that pushes peacemakers to constantly monitor their environment and step in to prevent any disruption. It's an internal belief that if conflict arises, it's their fault for not preventing it. This hyperresponsibility is exhausting, and it's fueled by anxiety. Neuroscientists studying stress responses have found that peacemakers often have heightened activity in the amygdala, the brain as fear center. When they sense potential conflict, this triggers a state of anxiety and hypervigilance. Their nervous system goes into overdrive, preparing for a fight they are desperate to avoid. This is exactly why Ethan felt compelled to intervene every time his parents argued. It's why Olivia constantly apologized to smooth things over, and why Lucas can't bring himself to say no, even when his own limits are being pushed. The dramatic truth is that peacemakers carry an enormous emotional burden. They often feel invisible because their own needs, desires, and feelings are consistently suppressed and overlooked. They are the emotional caretakers of their social circles, but who is taking care of them? The tricky part is that their own brain chemistry can reinforce this behavior. When a peacemaker successfully restores harmony, they experience a wave of relief. This relief is accompanied by a small burst of dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. Over time, this cycle of anxiety followed by relief can become addictive. Peacekeeping becomes a compulsive behavior, a way to get that hit of dopamine and feel safe again. This leads to another significant struggle for peacemakers: their sense of identity. Many measure their self-worth based on how well they prevent conflict rather than on who they are as individuals. Their identity becomes wrapped up in their function as a peacemaker. This is why relationships with peacemakers can be both beautiful and exhausting. On one hand, they offer incredible stability, empathy, and support. They are the friends you can always count on, but this often comes at a great cost to their own emotional health. When psychologists work with peacemakers, the focus is often on helping them untangle their worth from their actions. They emphasize the importance of setting boundaries, developing emotional self-awareness, and learning a crucial lesson. Conflict does not equal catastrophe. It's possible for people to disagree without the world ending. A peacemaker's value is not determined by how much emotional labor they provide for others. When a peacemaker begins to truly understand and internalize this, a powerful transformation occurs. They don't have to stop being empathetic or caring. Instead, they learn to maintain harmony without losing themselves in the process. Their empathy, once a source of anxiety, becomes a source of strength. Their intuition becomes wisdom, not just a warning system. Their calm presence becomes genuinely empowering rather than a mask for Gigich's own exhaustion. Ultimately, the psychology of the peacemaker is a story of courage, patience, and the hidden cost of caring too much. Understanding this complex inner world can help both peacemakers and those who love them. It allows us to cultivate healthier, more balanced connections. It helps us appreciate the quiet heroism of the person who sacrifices their own comfort to protect others, while also reminding us that they deserve to be seen, heard, and cared for. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. See you in the next one.